What if I told you that one of the most influential ideas in the history of economics didn't come from a banker or a trader or even a politician, but from a philosopher who believed that every coin carries a moral consequence? What if I told you that centuries before Wall Street, before capitalism, before central banks, one scholar warned that when money loses its moral purpose, societies collapse. And history has repeatedly proved him right? And here to us is the real mystery. Why is it that in every major economic crisis, from medieval market crashes to the 2008 meltdown, his forgotten theory suddenly becomes relevant again? Today, we uncover the story of the scholar who linked money to morality, a story that challenges everything we think we know about wealth, value, and progress. To understand this scholar's radical idea, you have to travel back nearly 1,000 years, a time when the world wasn't ruled by markets but by kings, when money wasn't created by banks but minted by rulers who controlled the purity of every coin, and when a single decision about currency could decide whether a city prospered or starved. This was an era of fragile economies. Gold and silver coins circulated across empires, but their value depended on trust that rulers wouldn't secretly dilute, clip, or devalue them. Most philosophers of that era focused on theology, law, or metaphysics. But one man saw something deeper. He observed that money wasn't just a tool. It wasn't just a medium of exchange. It was a moral contract. Break that contract, and civilizations crumble. His name was Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali. But what he discovered about money would echo far beyond his lifetime into modern stock markets, inflation cycles, and even cryptocurrency debates. Al-Ghazali was born in 1058 in Tus, in what is now Iran. This was a turbulent era, political upheaval, wars between dynasties, rising corruption. Great cities like Baghdad and Nishapur thrived, but economic stability was fragile. Coins circulated widely across the Islamic world, but rulers frequently degraded currency, mixing base metals into gold and silver to fund wars and palaces. Inflation skyrocketed, markets suffered, people lost trust. Sound familiar? Even as a young scholar, Al-Ghazali recognized something profound. When rulers manipulate money, they manipulate morality. He saw money as an invention that allows society to function, but only if its value remains honest. Tampering with it wasn't just bad economics, it was a moral crime. This idea would become the seed of his revolutionary theory. As Al-Ghazali rose to prominence, earning titles like the Proof of Islam, he studied not just religion, but human behavior, politics, and economic life. He argued that money had two essential purposes: measure of value, medium of exchange. But more importantly, he claimed money is created to serve, not to be hoarded, manipulated, or worshipped. This was radical. He believed that money was only moral when it facilitated fair exchange, when it helped society instead of exploiting it. And so he declared, debasing currency is a form of injustice. Hoarding currency is a form of injustice. Speculating to distort prices is a form of injustice. This wasn't just economics. It was an ethical revolution. For the first time in history, someone tied financial behavior to the moral fate of civilizations. And rulers listened. Some restored purity to their coins. Others banned certain exploitative practices. Markets temporarily stabilized. But history has a way of ignoring warnings. Despite his influence, rulers soon fell back into old habits. Wars had to be funded. Treasuries ran dry. So governments did what they had always done. They weakened the currency. Across the Middle East and North Africa, dirhams and dinars lost purity. Merchants fled to cities with better money. Trade contracted. Food prices spiked. Famine spread. Exactly what Al-Ghazali warned about. His moral framework wasn't just theory. It was a prediction model for a societal collapse. When money becomes corrupted, trust collapses. When trust collapses, markets collapse. When markets collapse, societies unravel. This pattern would repeat across centuries, from the fall of the Abbasids to the collapse of the Ottoman Akçe to Europe, as medieval currency devaluations. Each time, the same root cause emerged. Money lost its moral integrity. By the 13th century, currency chaos had triggered political instability across multiple empires. Local coins became worthless. People turned to barter. Trade routes declined. Entire regions fell into economic darkness. And yet, historians rarely teach this. Because it wasn't just economic mismanagement, it was moral decay at the level of monetary policy. Al-Ghazali's insights resurfaced centuries later, influencing economic thinkers from Aquinas to early European scholastics, and even modern behavioral economists. His idea was simple, but devastating. Money is a mirror. It reflects the morality of those who control it. Every generation tried to solve currency corruption. New coins, new metal standards, new rulers, new trade regulations. But none of these fixed the problem. Why? Because the issue wasn't technical. It wasn't about metal content, banking policy, or market rules. It was moral. If rulers were unjust, money would be unjust. If society became greedy, markets would become distorted. If people viewed money as an end instead of a means, the system would decay every time. And now, we arrive at the modern era. You might think these are ancient problems, but consider this. Since 1971, when the dollar left the gold standard, the currency lost over 85% of its purchasing power. In the last 20 years, global household debt has risen 150%. The top 1% now owns more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. Central banks print trillions from nothing, something unimaginable in Al-Ghazali's world. And every financial crisis of the past 100 years, from the Great Depression to the 1970s stagflation, to the 2008 crash, to recent inflation spikes, all share the same pattern. Money divorced from morality. Money manipulated for political goals. Money treated as a weapon instead of a social contract. Just as he predicted, we live in a world where speculation is rewarded debt fuels. Everything value is detached from reality. Short-term profit beats long-term stability, Al-Ghazali would argue. This isn't just economics. This is moral decay, playing out at a global scale. 1. Money is a moral system, not just an economic one. When leaders manipulate currency, they manipulate trust, and trust is the foundation of civilization. 2. Every financial crisis is also a moral crisis. Greed, deception, and short-term thinking always lead to collapse. 3. Stability requires ethical stewardship. You can't fix money with technology or policy alone. You need integrity at the level of individuals, institutions, and governments. Al-Ghazali's message echoes louder today than ever. A society survives with justice, even if poor, but no society survives with injustice, even if rich. If money becomes detached from morality, history shows exactly what happens next, and the signs are already here. If you found this story eye-opening, if it changed the way you think about money, trust, and history, then share this video so more people can understand the deeper forces shaping our world. Hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, do you think modern money still has a moral foundation, or have we crossed the point of no return?